Hey everyone, it's Kelly here with She Learns Video, and today I'm going to be walking you through a wedding film edit that I recently completed. I shared this video with the bride and groom, and now I'm going to be sharing it with you and showing you a little bit about the process and showing you some behind the scenes of how the edit comes together. If you'd like to learn more about video editing, or getting started with adding video to your photography business, definitely go and check us out at shelearnsvideo.com and join our newsletter to stay posted on everything we have going on. Okay, so here we are in the Premiere Pro dashboard, and I'm under Assembly. I have all of my files over here on the left. I have my audio folder, my miscellaneous where I put some adjustment layers and color mats, logos, stuff like that. And then all of my video files are here in this one. So what I have done is I've completely finished and put the wedding film together. This is what my sequence or timeline down here looks like. And you can see these are all of my individual video clips here. This audio here is voice audio. So this here is the groom's vows, bride's vows, and then this is some of her father's speech that I included. And then down here on the bottom is the music that I have selected for the film. So I will run through the film a little bit, kind of clip by clip. I am going to go ahead and mute some of the audio while we're speaking, but will include the full film at the end of the video if you would like to watch. Okay, so I will zoom in here on my timeline a little bit so you can see it up close. I like to include their names at the beginning of the film. Sometimes I will also include the wedding date. 2020 has been a strange year with some people getting married on one day and then having their actual ceremony with friends and family on a different day. So for this one, I did not include it, but love the look of how it fades in here. I've put the text up here in this little box utilizing the text tool, and I just kind of fade it in and fade it out. I also have the, I believe this is like a dip to black, so that as the bride and groom appear on the screen, it kind of fades in. And you can just see them, they're here having a kiss outside of their venue, and I just thought it was a nice way to open up the film. I also have an adjustment layer here. This is how I do most of my color correcting and color edits. This is essentially like a big filter that I put over the entire film that adds in select color edits that I want reflected in the entire film. And then I actually will go back clip by clip and correct any color cast, or perhaps if the white balance was slightly off or exposure was under or over, I can tweak it a little bit. There is not as much you can do during the editing process with video as you can with photo, but you can adjust the colors a little bit and play around with exposure, highlights, all of those edits. If you go under your color panel here, right now it's on my adjustment layer, and for the adjustment layer, I didn't do any big basic edits, but I did some creative edits utilizing some LUTs that I use here. These are all different kinds of essentially filters or presets you can put onto your films. And then basic correction, actually it does look like I maybe pulled down the warmness a little bit on the entire thing. So usually I don't do a ton of these edits on the entire video because I like to go in clip by clip and make any, exposure, contrast, so on and so forth edits. But as far as the creative side, I like to have an adjustment layer there for that. So as we go through, you'll see some B-roll here of the flowers, and then we show the bride and groom with their wedding party. This was kind of right when I showed up for the day. This actually was a wedding I booked very last minute due to the fact that the other videographer got COVID. So it was one of those that I was excited to meet them, but I usually like to get to know my couples a little bit better in advance. So as far as the story went, I had to learn a lot about them in a questionnaire, and as we were going throughout the wedding day, just paying attention to how they interacted and their family and trying to find what's important to them. So you'll see here, I do like to mix up these clips of them together throughout the film. I tend to edit in a pretty chronological fashion, starting with these images right after their first look. And then I mix in some of the sunset time that we had together where I was shooting them as in this opening scene out here in front of their venue. And then again, just some of her getting ready. And I do try to get multiple angles in every situation or every shoot that I'm doing. So, you know, her in her bridal suite getting ready. We did some of her with her flowers. I got some close-up shots here. You'll see again, there's some shots of her bracelet, her getting ready, her sister's helping her with her makeup. And then I do try to mix in a little bit of the groom as well. You know, as I said, when I got to this wedding, everyone was already ready. They did book me for a shorter package, so I wasn't there for as much of the prep, but did try to throw in some of these before the ceremony moments as I could. And, you know, we staged some of this touching up her makeup just to add in those additional details. And here again, I throw in an image of the two of them together with their hands and their rings. Just again, some B-roll. I will play this for you. I've put the groom's audio here from the ceremony. I did adjust the audio a little bit. I make sure that everything, you know, sounds clear and crisp. I work in this audio setting here, and you can edit, you can repair if there's any noise, and I have made some edits here because it was in a tent and the officiant, his microphone was hooked up to my recorder. I also had a microphone on the groom, and so those are the two audio sources I used for the ceremony. I additionally have audio sources on both of the cameras that I'm utilizing in the ceremony, and that really can't be said enough. If you are going to start including audio in your films, I highly encourage you to have multiple sources of audio, especially in scenarios where it's a one-time moment. So if you're doing birth videos, weddings, you definitely need backup audio sources. Not as important if you're doing things like family films, but I would encourage it for anything that you can't or don't want to have to reshoot. Okay, so let's go back here and I will play this for you.
Natalie, I love you more than I can put into words. And it has been a wonderful journey getting to grow up and mature, not only as a person, but as a couple with you by my side. Despite the many months we've had to suffer apart during the majority of the last decade, I have never...
You'll see there I am just playing some instrumental music in the background, and then I have his audio over top. I do the same thing for her audio here at Go Right, kind of after him as we're going into the ceremony. I am going to mute again just as I talk through this. But here we get into the ceremony, and I have her audio included over some of the shots of her walking down the aisle and them as they start their ceremony. I also synced up the audio here with her speaking her vows. So I'll unmute that and make this a little larger so you can see.
Than just my partner. You've been the best friend I've ever had.
So you'll see there, I like to include that. If you are going to include audio, it's nice to be able to show the person who is speaking. I encourage you, if you are going to have someone on camera with their lips moving, to make sure that you have that audio. Otherwise, it does look a little bit strange to, you know, show someone speaking at a ceremony and have just music or lyrics or unsynced audio in the background. So anytime you're showing someone speaking, please try your best to have that audio synced up with the visual. And then after I finish the ceremony here, let me mute this again. I have some additional shots here of the ceremony and from different angles. And then here they have their kiss, and her vows end right around the same time. And then I actually have added in music that has lyrics. So as the audio, the spoken audio fades out, I transition in, you can see here, I've jumped from the instrumental version of the song to the version with lyrics, and you'll see those pick up here as I press play.
So much brighter. The colors so much deeper.
Okay, so with that, I just like how it kind of flows into the reception and a different part of the film. Also, if you'll notice when I did play that back, I have tried to transition right on the beat of the music with these B-roll shots of the reception. So we go from the cake to the tables to the venue, and then an outdoor shot of the venue, and then I'll go right back into the couple. This is after their ceremony. They look so happy and in love. And again, this is still going to be the music down here at the bottom that has lyrics. So it does give that additional source of emotion. I really like to include lyrics whenever they align with the couple or the family or the brand that I'm shooting. And I also like to include audio as much as I can. I think it brings a lot of emotion and really just adds to the quality of your film. So here we have some family shots. And you'll see, again, just hands, bride and groom, little details, trees. I can't say enough. I know it sounds silly to be out shooting trees when you're at a wedding day, and I don't think you need to be spending a ton of time doing it, but having these little shots to just put in between something like an intimate moment here and then something a little more casual where it's showing people taking pictures at the reception, it just provides that transition so doesn't feel as harsh. You feel like you're going somewhere different from this to this. And then show the bride and her friends at the reception, family. I really try to highlight family anytime I can. I know weddings are one of the most important events in anyone's life, and having your family present there is so valuable. And being able to look back on these memories, especially with older family members, can be so important and so valuable. You'll see here they did a ceremony where they walk into the reception. He is in the military, so they wanted to have these details included. They also cut their cake with a giant sword, which was super cool. Here you'll see maybe a little bit of a jump. Oh, I didn't do a jump cut. Okay, here you'll see, instead of doing a jump cut from here to here, which is, it just took them a long time to get from cutting the cake to eating the cake and laughing. So in the middle, I've just included a little B-roll shot of the cake itself. It was so beautiful. And it just gives this opportunity to get to this additional moment where they're being silly and smashing the cake. Here, first dance, and I started in their first dance with her dad's audio. He speaks a lot about their relationship. They have been together since high school, and he talks a lot about their ability to maintain the relationship over time and how important that has been. He talks about choices, and I really just thought it went well with this image of them dancing and being so happy together. And then here I cut to the dad giving the speech. And again, he's speaking, so I did want to include some imagery of him giving this speech. This was one where it happened really fast from the time that they entered the reception hall. They cut their cake, and then dad spoke almost completely in line. There wasn't a lot of time. So the light where it's placed is actually more over by where their cake was. And I just made the decision to leave the light where it was. I was filming from multiple locations. This is a shot from a tripod that I had set over to the side. And then I was roaming around the room on a monopod, getting some reaction shots and some different angles of dad. This part of the speech that I wanted to include was primarily recorded on the camera that was on the tripod. So that's why I have this angle. You know, the lighting isn't maybe my favorite, but at the same time, he is well lit. You can see him speaking, and you can see him smiling and being happy for the couple. So I thought it was great to include. It's always nice to see your parents speaking so kindly about you and your husband, and I really, really enjoyed it. So then we go into some shots of her and her dad dancing. Again, he's still speaking here. The audio is over the top, and I can play a little bit.
When people gather together to celebrate a wedding, they celebrate many things. The joining of people in matrimony, the witnessing of their vows, the joining of two families together, but also the start of a new family and a new legacy.
So this was something after I sent off the wedding film. They were so appreciative of the imagery that included their grandparents. And that's something that from my own wedding, I know has been so valuable to have those images of our grandparents who have now passed away. And I always like to include special people, especially those that are, grandparents or older aunts and uncles, because I know how important it is and I know how much they're going to appreciate it long term. It just really helps tell the story, and especially when he was talking about legacy, I thought it fit really well. Okay, so here we'll just go into imagery of him and his mom dancing, some more reception fun. They went outside and smoked cigars. So again, this is just, I got this close-up angle of him lighting the cigar and then a farther away shot of him and his groomsmen together. And then we go into the party, and I will say with reception footage, you just kind of have to do the best you can. It can get a little wild and crazy. I like to have my camera on a gimbal or a monopod, something that's like easy to kind of run and gun, but at the same time you can pan around and get different shots. I always do this whenever I have my camera on a gimbal. I like to walk through the crowd here and just get different people's reactions, kind of dance along with them. And it always adds a little bit of fun. I don't do a ton of dancing shots, but I try to get the people who are important to the bride and groom. There's some of the bride dancing. We do some of the bride and groom here towards the end. And this is the groom's mom and the bride's sister. So really just include those important people as much as you can. And I think that's always going to be great for the couple, and they will really appreciate it. And then at the end, they did a sparkler exit. And you'll see here something that I don't often do, but from time to time I will do if a moment is special, but it just takes a really long time to happen. You'll see here they're walking out of the reception. I love how happy they look, and it's just a beautiful shot with everybody else so happy for them. And then I actually do a crossfade here into their kiss at the end of the sparkler exit. And a real reason why I chose to do that is because actually right here, she stops to look at him and says, "I think we're supposed to kiss." And I didn't want to include that, her mouth moving those words without any type of audio, obviously. And so I just needed to cut that out. And I thought that this was just a nice way to transition from one moment to the next moment. And then at the end, I dip to black. And I have my logo in there at the end as kind of a signature, so that if anybody watches it and is expecting to be married soon, they might reach out and ask me to film their wedding. You'll also see here that the adjustment layer ends because that's where the video cuts off, so I want the color to end so the color doesn't go over my logo. And then the audio has just faded out. If for some reason the audio doesn't fade out and I don't have it perfectly timed, I can cut it a little bit short and add like a crossfade if you want to, if you need to cut it off a little early. Okay, so just a few other things. Up here you'll notice I have a marker here and a marker here. I like to put those in because I did tell this couple their film would be, I believe I said 3 to 4 minutes, so it ends right here at the 3.5 minute mark. I do think it's all dependent upon, the footage that you have and whatever agreement you've come to with a couple as far as how long a video will be. But I do like to make sure that I know mentally when I'm putting all of these little clips into the timeline that I have a picture of where I want the video to end. And that also helps me when I'm selecting a song or multiple songs to know where I need the audio to cut off in order to make the film all come together. All right, so that's a brief overview of how I edit together wedding films. If you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them below. I always like to hear if you have any ideas for editing films, or if you have any particular questions about editing in Premiere Pro. I would be happy to create more videos and just continue to provide you more content if you are a new videographer who's just getting into shooting weddings or creating videos in Premiere. I hope that was helpful, and if you would like to learn more, definitely go over to shelearnsvideo.com and sign up for our newsletter where you can stay posted on all of our videos, our blog content, and lots of free resources.
Natalie, I love you more than I can put into words, and it has been a wonderful journey getting to grow up and mature, not only as a person, but as a couple with you by my side. Despite the many months we've had to suffer apart during the majority of the last decade, I have never questioned that you are the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Your capacity for compassion, love, and understanding is remarkable, and I'm so fortunate to have found someone that I can genuinely share everything with.
Philip, you have made me feel loved and safe and happier than I knew I was capable of being. For the past 7+ years, you've been more to me than just my partner. You've been the best friend I've ever had. Whatever may come, through happy times and hard, I vow to be by your side, not just as your wife, but as your friend. And when I look at you, I see everything I want in my husband. I love you.
It's all so much brighter. The colors so much deeper. I got joy in my soul. I got joy in my soul. The fact that you're half of what's making me whole puts a little joy in my soul. And I got love in my heart. I got love in my heart. The promise that no man can tear us apart puts a lot of love in my heart. The lights are so much brighter. The colors so much deeper.
Your life and what you become is about the choices you make every day. I read an article once that said the average person makes about 30,000 choices a day, but Natalie and Philip have been choosing each other since high school. They went to Purdue together. Philip went first for a year, and then Natalie followed a year later. They have shown time and time again that they are each other's priority. When people gather together to celebrate a wedding, they celebrate many things. The joining of people in matrimony, the witnessing of their vows, the joining of two families together, but also the start of a new family and a new legacy.